The marble floors of the Intergalactic Alliance Diplomatic Hall gleamed under the ethereal light of 3 artificial suns. Jack Mercer pushed his mop across the vast expanse, humming an old Earth tune that his grandmother used to sing. The sonic cleanser attached to the mop handle vibrated at precisely the right frequency to dissolve alien wine stains from last night's reception. Another diplomatic gathering, another mess to clean up. Jack had been working the night shift for 2 years now, ever since he arrived at the central station orbiting between the Valorian system and the human colonies. The pay was decent, the hours suited him fine, and most importantly, nobody asked questions about his past. Nobody cared about a janitor's history when there were ambassadors from 100 worlds strutting through these halls daily. He paused near the grand viewing portal, gazing out at the swirling nebula that painted space in shades of purple and gold. Somewhere out there, beyond that cosmic dust, was the wreckage of Colony Ship Horizon, his family's ship, the one that got caught in the crossfire during the Valorian expansion wars 15 years ago. 800 souls, including his parents and sister, reduced to frozen debris because some alien warlord decided that sector belonged to him. But that was ancient history now. The peace treaties were signed, reparations were paid in cold credits, and everyone moved on. Everyone except Jack. Mercer stopped daydreaming and get the throne room prepped. His supervisor's voice crackled through the neural comm. "Big event tomorrow. The Valorian princess is holding court." Jack sighed and gathered his supplies. Princess Arabelle of Valoria. Even a janitor couldn't escape hearing about her. The most brilliant mind in 3 galaxies, they said. Beauty that could make stars dim in shame. And apparently, the pickiest royal in the known universe. The gossip channels were buzzing with statistics. 1,017 suitors rejected. Princes, warlords, CEOs of megacorporations, even a sentient AI that controlled an entire planet's economy. All deemed unworthy. The throne room doors hissed open before him, revealing a chamber that defied physics. Valorian architecture always made his head spin. Gravity flowed in artistic patterns, allowing furniture to exist on walls and ceilings. Crystalline columns twisted through dimensions that shouldn't exist, creating impossible shadows that danced with their own light. Jack activated his grav boots and began working methodically. The floor, the walls that were also floors, the ceiling that sometimes wasn't there at all. His mop adjusted its molecular structure to match each surface, a bit of human engineering that still impressed him. Say what you want about humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy, but they made the best cleaning equipment in the universe. As he worked, holographic preparations materialized around him, courtiers directing automated systems, setting up display platforms, adjusting the aesthetic algorithms that would ensure every visitor saw the room in its most flattering configuration for their species. Jack navigated around them like a ghost, invisible and irrelevant. "Testing, testing." A melodious voice rang out. A Valorian technician was calibrating the acoustic enhancers. Even their regular speech sounded like singing to human ears. The princess requires perfect pitch modulation. Her voice must carry the weight of stars. Jack rolled his eyes. The weight of stars. Everything about Valorians was so damn dramatic. They couldn't just say hello without making it sound like epic poetry. Their entire culture was built on superiority complexes, wrapped in artistic pretension. He was just finishing the last section when something caught his eye. A small device, no bigger than his thumb, tucked behind one of the dimensional columns. Jack frowned. In 2 years of cleaning this room, he'd never seen anything like it. The surface was matte black, absorbing light rather than reflecting it, with symbols that seemed to shift when he wasn't looking directly at them. Probably some fancy Valorian tech for tomorrow's event. Jack shrugged and moved on. Not his business. The next day, Jack was supposed to be off duty, but overtime pay was overtime pay. And when the call came for emergency cleaning crew during the princess's reception, He suited up. The regular day shift janitors were probably cowering somewhere. Valorian royalty had a reputation for executing servants who disturbed their proceedings. Jack arrived to find the service corridors in chaos. Diplomatic staff ran back and forth, updating guest lists, arguing about protocol, fretting over seating arrangements that took into account not just rank, but species-specific requirements. Some aliens couldn't sit next to others without triggering biological warfare. Politics in space was complicated. "You're late." Maria Santos, his shift partner, appeared at his elbow. She was one of the few humans he actually talked to on the station. Former military, like half the human service staff here. The wars left a lot of soldiers without purpose. "Traffic," Jack said dryly. "Apparently, Prince something or other from the Crimson Hegemony brought a fleet of 30 ships. Docking bay's a nightmare." Maria snorted. 30 ships to impress a girl, and they wonder why she keeps saying no. Through the service viewports, they could see the throne room filling with the galaxy's elite. Jack recognized some from the news feeds. There was Lord Commander Thax, who controlled the mining rights to 17 systems. Ambassador Zelnick, whose species communicated through controlled radiation bursts. Even a delegation from the Machine Consciousness Collective, their chrome bodies reflecting the room's impossible architecture. "Look at them," Maria muttered. "Peacocking around like she's going to suddenly change her mind. 1,000 rejections, and they still think they're special." A fanfare of harmonic frequencies announced the princess's arrival. Even from the service corridor, Jack felt the vibration in his bones. Valorian technology could turn sound into a physical force, and they used it liberally. "Positions," Maria whispered. "We go in after the first presentation round. Quick sweep of the refreshment area. Then out." Jack nodded. He'd done this dance before. Invisible, efficient, forgettable. The key to surviving in a universe that saw humans as barely evolved from throwing rocks at each other. The presentations began. Through the audio feed, Jack heard suitor after suitor make their case. The Crimson Prince offered her a moon made entirely of crystallized starlight. The machine consciousness promised to name a new algorithm after her. Lord Commander Thax unveiled a genetically engineered creature that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously, its beauty supposedly transcending physical reality. And one by one, Princess Aravel rejected them all. Her voice, when she spoke, was unlike typical Valorian melodrama. Cool, precise, almost bored. "Your moon is a bauble. Your algorithm is derivative. Your creature is an abomination of science without soul." Jack found himself almost respecting her. Almost. Finally, their cue came. Jack and Maria slipped through the service entrance, grav mops at the ready. The refreshment area was a disaster. Apparently, someone had spilled Nexan wine, which had the unfortunate property of becoming more liquid the more you tried to clean it up. The day shift had clearly given up. Jack attacked the spill with methodical precision. The key was to alter the mop's frequency to match the wine's molecular rebellion. He'd learned that trick from an old maintenance manual everyone else ignored. As he worked, he became aware of a growing silence in the room. Looking up, he realized why. The presentations had paused. Princess Aravel herself was walking through the crowd, and her path was leading directly toward the refreshment area. Toward him. Jack's first instinct was to flee. Valorian royalty noticing a human janitor never ended well. But he was mid-sweep, the wine finally responding to his technique. If he stopped now, it would explode into an even bigger mess. So he kept mopping. The princess drew closer. Jack caught glimpses of her between the legs of fleeing courtiers. The descriptions hadn't done her justice. It wasn't that she was beautiful in any conventional sense. Valorians had different features than humans, with skin that shifted between metallic hues and eyes that held too many pupils. But there was something about the way she moved, like gravity itself was making suggestions rather than demands. She stopped 3 feet from him, Jack kept his eyes on his work, fighting every instinct, screaming at him to run. "You missed a spot," she said. Jack's hand paused. He looked up, meeting those impossible eyes. "Where?" Princess Aravel pointed with one elongated finger. Sure enough, a small puddle of wine had escaped his pattern. Jack nodded and extended his mop. "Efficient," she observed. "The frequency modulation. You're using the Hendrix principle." Jack nearly dropped the mop. "You know about human cleaning techniques." "I know about everything," she said. But there was something in her voice. Not arrogance, exhaustion. "I have been educated in the customs, technologies, and philosophies of every known species. Do you know how tedious it is to memorize the waste management systems of 800 civilizations?" Despite himself, Jack chuckled. Probably about as tedious as actually managing that waste. The room gasped. Actually gasped, like something out of a bad holodrama. A human had made a joke in the presence of Valorian royalty. The execution squads were probably already loading their weapons. But Princess Aravel did something no one expected. She laughed. Not the musical, composed laughter of Valorian social functions. This was genuine, surprised, almost human-sounding. "Yes," she said. "Yes. I imagine it would be—" Lord Kaelor, the princess's chief advisor, materialized at her side. Where Aravel was elegant, he was imposing. 7 feet of militaristic perfection, with scars that told stories of the wars Jack tried to forget. "Your Highness." Kaelor's voice could have frozen stars. "This person is contaminating your presence. Shall I have him removed?" "Removed," Aravel tilted her head. "For doing his job, how peculiar. Tell me, Lord Kaelor, when was the last time you cleaned anything yourself?" The advisor's perfect features twisted slightly. "I am a warrior and statesman. Such tasks are beneath you. Yes, everything is beneath someone, isn't it?" She turned back to Jack. "What's your name? Janitor?" "Jack Mercer, Your Highness." "Mercer." She rolled the human name around like an interesting flavor. "And why are you here, Jack Mercer? Surely humanity has more to offer than sanitation services." Jack felt heat rise in his face. The wine stain was gone now, but he kept the mop moving, needing something to do with his hands. "Someone has to clean up the messes." "Indeed." Her multiple pupils dilated in what he thought might be amusement. "And are we very messy, Jack Mercer, we Valorians?" The smart answer was no. The safe answer was a compliment about Valorian perfection. But something in her tone, in the way she'd laughed at his stupid joke, made Jack honest. "You spill things just like everyone else," he said. "The only difference is, your wine argues back." Another laugh. This time, several of the suitors stepped forward, as if her amusement was a currency they could claim. "Your Highness," Prince Gorvan of the Crimson Hegemony interrupted. "Perhaps we could return to the presentations. I have prepared a sonnet in 17 dimensions that—" "Boring," Aravel said without looking at him. "I've heard dimensional poetry before. It always sounds the same, like someone strangling mathematics." She was still watching Jack. "Tell me, Mercer, what would you offer a princess who has everything—" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Jack became acutely aware that every eye, sensor, and consciousness in the room was focused on him. A human janitor, being asked to compete with the galaxy's elite. He should have mumbled something self-deprecating and retreated. Instead, he leaned on his mop and really looked at her, past the alien features, the royal bearing, the weight of 1,000 rejections. He saw something familiar, the same exhaustion he saw in his mirror every morning. "A day off," he said finally. Silence. Even the ambient hum of the station seemed to pause. "Excuse me." Lord Kaelor's hand moved to the ceremonial weapon at his side. "A day off," Jack repeated, warming to the absurdity of it. When was the last time you did something just because you wanted to, not because it was expected, or politically advantageous, or part of some grand cultural tradition? Just because. Princess Aravel's expression was unreadable. And what would I do with this day off, Jack Mercer? Jack shrugged. Whatever you want. Sleep until noon. Eat junk food. Watch terrible holovids. Learn to juggle. Nothing universe-shaking. Just normal. Normal. She repeated the word like it was in an alien language. Which, Jack supposed, it was. You would offer a princess of Valoria. Normalcy? It's all I've got, Jack said simply. I don't have crystallized moons or dimensional poems. I've got a mop, a small apartment on level C, and a subscription to a human streaming service that mostly shows old Earth movies. But I know what it's like to want 5 minutes where you're not performing for anyone. The room erupted. Suitors laughed mockingly. Courtiers whispered furiously. Lord Kaelor looked ready to separate Jack's head from his shoulders right there. But Princess Aravel held up one hand, and silence fell like a curtain. 3 days from now, she said, her voice carrying that harmonic authority. There will be a final gathering. All suitors are invited to present their ultimate offer, including you, Jack Mercer. Your Highness, Kaelor protested. He is not qualified. The bloodline requirements alone. Am I not Princess of Valoria? Her tone could have cut diamond. Do I not have the authority to decide who may court me? Kaelor bowed stiffly. Of course, Your Highness. But the Council will... The Council will accept my decision or face my displeasure. She turned back to Jack. 3 days. Don't disappoint me. She swept away, her entourage following like a comet's tail. The other suitors glared at Jack with expressions ranging from amusement to murderous rage. He stood there, mop in hand, wondering what the hell had just happened. Maria appeared at his elbow, her face pale. Jack, what did you do? I think, Jack said slowly. I just asked an alien princess on a date. With a mop? They're going to kill you, she whispered. You know that. Right, these people have destroyed planets for lesser insults. Jack looked down at his mop, then at the spot where Princess Aravel had stood, for the first time in years. Something other than grief stirred in his chest. Was it hope-terror? Probably both. Maybe, he said, but at least it won't be boring. As they retreated to the service corridors, Jack didn't notice the small black device behind the dimensional column, beginning to pulse with a dark energy. Nor did he see Lord Kaelor's expression as he spoke quietly into a private communicator. Yes, Kaelor said, his voice cold as the void between stars. The human complicates things. Begin preparations for the contingency. If the princess won't choose properly, we'll make the choice for her. 3 days. Jack had 3 days to figure out how to date royalty, not get killed by jealous aliens, and somehow stay true to his promise of normalcy. He looked at his mop and laughed. It was either that or scream. The corridors of the diplomatic hall seemed different as Jack made his way back to his quarters. The familiar walls felt like they were pressing in, and every alien he passed looked at him with new eyes. Word traveled fast in space. By tomorrow, every being in the station would know about the human janitor who dared speak to Princess Aravel. His communication unit was already flooded with messages when he reached his small apartment. Interview requests from media outlets he'd never heard of. Death threats in languages his translator couldn't parse. A few congratulations from other humans, mixed with warnings to watch his back. Jack deleted them all and collapsed on his narrow bed. What had he been thinking? He wasn't a suitor. He was a nobody, running from a past that wouldn't let go. He cleaned floors and tried not to think about frozen bodies floating in space. But when he closed his eyes, he saw her laugh. Not the Princess of Valoria, terror of 1,000 suitors. Just someone who found his stupid joke funny. Someone tired of the performance. 3 days to plan a normal date for the most abnormal being in the galaxy. Jack reached for his mop, running his fingers along its worn handle. It had been his constant companion for 2 years. Reliable, simple, effective. Everything he used to be before the wars took it all away. He thought about his father, who'd been an engineer. "Every problem has a solution," the old man used to say. "Sometimes you just have to look at it from a different angle." "What angle did you use to date alien royalty?" Jack sat up, suddenly energized. He might not have wealth or power or genetically engineered creatures, but he had something none of those other suitors understood. He knew what it was like to lose everything and keep going, to find meaning in simple things, to choose normalcy in a universe gone mad. He opened his entertainment unit and started scrolling through his collection of old Earth movies. Maybe Princess Aravel would enjoy 20th century comedies. Or perhaps she'd prefer action films where humans inexplicably saved the day, despite being outmatched. His door chimed. Jack frowned. It was past midnight, station time. Who would visit now? The door slid open to reveal Maria, holding a bottle of real Earth whiskey and 2 glasses. "Figured you could use this," she said, inviting herself in. "Also, figured you might need help planning the worst date in galactic history." Jack smiled, the first genuine smile he'd managed in longer than he could remember. "You're probably right." They sat on his small couch, drinking whiskey and brainstorming increasingly ridiculous date ideas. Take her to the station's arcade, teach her human card games, introduce her to the dubious pleasure of synthesized pizza. "You know what your problem is," Maria said after her 3rd glass. "You're thinking like they are, like you have to impress her." "I don't—" "Jack, she chose you because you offered her normal. So be normal. Be the guy with the mop who made her laugh." She poured another round. "Besides, what's the worst that could happen? Interstellar war, my execution broadcast across the galaxy, the extinction of humanity." Maria considered this. "Okay, yeah, those are pretty bad. But look at it this way. You're already a dead man walking. Every one of those suitors wants your head. Kaylor definitely wants you spaced. You might as well go out doing something memorable." Jack stared at his whiskey, thinking about memorable deaths and frozen colonies, about wars that ended in treaties but never really ended at all, about a princess who laughed at his jokes and knew about human cleaning techniques. "You're right," he said finally. "If I'm going to die, at least it'll be the strangest death in human history." "That's the spirit." Maria raised her glass. "To Jack Mercer, the janitor who mopped his way into royalty's heart." They clinked glasses and drank. Outside Jack's small window, the stars wheeled in their eternal dance, indifferent to the small human who'd just upended the social order of the galaxy with nothing but honesty and a cleaning implement. In 3 days, everything would change. But tonight, Jack Mercer was just a man with a mop, a friend, and the terrifying possibility that sometimes being nobody special was exactly what someone needed. The whiskey burned warm in his chest, and for a moment, the ghosts of Colony Ship Horizon felt a little further away. Not gone, never gone, but quiet enough to let something else take root. Hope, Jack decided, tasted like Earth whiskey and sounded like alien laughter. It was ridiculous and impossible and probably doomed. But it was his. The next morning arrived with all the subtlety of a plasma cannon. Jack's door chime went off 17 times before he managed to drag himself out of bed. The whiskey had been a mistake. The entire situation was a mistake. But apparently, mistakes were his specialty now. Mr. Mercer. A 4-armed Nexan diplomat stood at his door, practically vibrating with excitement. "I am Undersecretary Vix from the Cultural Exchange Division. We need to discuss protocols for your presentation." Jack rubbed his eyes. "Protocols? Of course, you're making history. The first human to formally court Valorian royalty. There are forms to fill out, genetic compatibility tests to run, ceremonial garments to be fitted. No. The Nexan's forearms froze mid-gesture. I beg your pardon. No protocols. No forms. No fancy clothes. Jack leaned against his doorframe. I promised her normal. That's what she's getting. But... Vix's skin shifted through several shades of distressed purple. There are traditions, requirements. The Valorian Council will never approve. Then they can take it up with their princess, Jack said. She invited me. My way or no way. The undersecretary looked like he might have a stroke. Or whatever Nexans had instead of strokes. This is highly irregular. Yeah, well, get used to it. Jack started to close his door, then paused. Actually, there is one thing you can do. Find out what kind of food restrictions Valorians have. I need to know what she can eat. You're planning to feed her like some primitive mating ritual. Jack smiled. Something like that. The day passed in a blur of unwanted attention. Every news outlet in the galaxy wanted an exclusive. Ambassadors who'd never acknowledged his existence suddenly knew his name. The other janitors looked at him like he'd grown a second head. You're either the bravest or stupidest human alive, Rodriguez said during their shift overlap. My money's on stupid. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Jack muttered, checking his supplies. He had a lot of floors to clean and even more thinking to do. The thinking got interrupted when he reached the observatory deck. Someone was already there, standing perfectly still before the massive transparasteel wall that looked out onto the cosmic sea. Even from behind, Jack recognized her. Princess Aravel turned as he entered. She was alone, which should have been impossible. Valorian royalty traveled with entourages the size of small armies. Your Highness, Jack said, unsure whether to bow, salute, or run. I didn't expect. Where's your security? Hiding and having what humans call panic attacks, she said, with that almost smile. I occasionally slip away. It's the only way I can think. Jack approached slowly, like she might spook. And what does a princess think about when she's alone? Everything, nothing. She turned back to the stars. Do you know what it's like, Jack Mercer, to have every moment of your existence planned, every word scripted, every choice made by committee? No, Jack said honestly, but I know what it's like to have all your choices taken away. She glanced at him, those multiple pupils focusing with unnerving intensity. The colony ship Horizon. I read about it. I'm sorry. Jack's hands tightened on his mop handle. You read about it? I read about everything. It's what I do. Absorb information, process data, make informed decisions based on optimal outcomes. Her voice carried bitter amusement. Did you know there are 47 different mathematical models for selecting a mate based on genetic compatibility and political advantage? Lord Kaelor has memorized them all. Sounds romantic, Jack said dryly. Doesn't it? She moved closer to the window, her reflection overlapping with the stars. Tell me about Earth movies. The subject changed through him. What? You mentioned a streaming service. I've studied Earth culture extensively, but entertainment media was deemed frivolous by my tutors. Tell me about these movies. So Jack did. He talked about comedies where ordinary people saved the day through luck and determination, about love stories that defied logic, about action heroes who quipped in the face of death. As he talked, he found himself relaxing, even managing to make her laugh again when he described the plots of particularly ridiculous films. They sound wonderfully absurd, she said. Humans fighting alien invasions with computer viruses, love conquering dimensional barriers. Your species has such optimistic fiction. We have to, Jack said. Reality's usually disappointing. Yes, she agreed quietly. It is. They stood in comfortable silence, watching a cargo freighter navigate through the shipping lanes. Jack should have been cleaning. Should have been anywhere but here. But something kept him rooted. "Why me?" he asked finally. "Really, not the joke answer you gave everyone. Why?" Aravel was quiet so long he thought she wouldn't answer. When she spoke, her voice was different, smaller, more real. "Because you didn't look at me like a prize," she said. "Every suitor sees a crown, a bloodline, a strategic alliance. You saw someone making a mess and offered to clean it up. Do you understand how rare that is?" "I'm a janitor," Jack said. "It's literally my job." "Exactly." She turned to face him fully. "You have a job, a purpose that isn't about power or prestige. When was the last time someone offered me something without expecting the universe in return?" Jack thought about it. "That's a lonely way to live." "It's the only way I've been allowed to live." She straightened, the mask of royalty sliding back into place. 3 days. Jack Mercer. Surprise me." She glided away, leaving Jack alone with his mop and his thoughts. He looked out at the stars and wondered what his parents would think. Their son, the janitor, stumbling into an impossible situation with alien royalty. They'd probably laugh. His mother always said he had a talent for finding trouble. His comm unit buzzed. Maria's message was brief. "Emergency supply closet B7 now." Jack found her pacing in the small space, her military training showing in every tense line of her body. "We have a problem," she said without preamble. "I've been asking around. Those other suitors, they're not taking your invitation well. I figured they wouldn't throw me a party." "Jack, I'm serious. 3 of them have already filed formal challenges. Duels to the death, and that's the legal stuff. Word is, some of them are planning accidents." Jack sighed. "Of course they are. Can't have a janitor showing them up." "This isn't funny." Maria grabbed his shoulders. "They will kill you. Lord Kalor's already spreading rumors that you're a spy, that this is some human plot to infiltrate Valorian power structures. A plot. Our grand scheme is to send a janitor with a mop. They don't care about logic. They care that you're making them look bad." Maria's grip tightened. "You need to run. Get transferred to another station. I can pull some strings." "No." "Jack." "No," he repeated firmly. "I gave my word. Besides, where would I run? It's not like I have anywhere to go." Maria studied his face. "This isn't about the princess, is it? This is about Horizon." Jack pulled away. "Don't psychoanalyze me, Santos." "Someone needs to. You've been sleepwalking through life for 2 years. Now, suddenly you're taking on the entire galactic elite. That's not moving on. That's suicide with extra steps." "Maybe," Jack admitted. "But at least I'm feeling something again." Maria's expression softened. "Your family wouldn't want this. My family wanted to see new worlds, meet new people, build bridges between species." Jack managed a twisted smile. "Granted, they probably didn't mean dating alien royalty, but the principle stands." Before Maria could respond, the lights flickered. Emergency protocols activated, bathing everything in red. A station-wide announcement echoed through the halls. "Security alert. All non-essential personnel return to quarters. This is not a drill." Jack and Maria exchanged glances. "Think that's about me?" he asked. "Everything's about you now," she muttered. "Come on, let's get you somewhere safe." They made it halfway to Jack's quarters before running into trouble. A group of Crimson Hegemony soldiers blocked the corridor, their bio-armor gleaming like fresh blood. Prince Gorvin stood at their center, his 4 eyes focused on Jack with lethal intent. "The janitor," Gorvin's voice dripped contempt. "I've come to deliver a message." "Let me guess," Jack said, pushing Maria behind him. "Stay away from the princess or face the consequences." "Oh no," Gorvin smiled, revealing far too many teeth. "The consequences are already here." The soldiers raised their weapons. Jack's mind raced through options, finding none that didn't end with him as a scorch mark on the deck. Then, unexpectedly, salvation came from the last place he expected. "Stand down," Lord Kaler's voice cut through the tension like a blade. The Valorian advisor strode into view, his personal guard flanking him. "Prince Gorvan, you forget yourself. This station is neutral territory." Gorvan's eyes narrowed. "Lord Kalor, I didn't expect you to protect the human." "I protect the law," Kalor said coldly. "The princess has made her choice. We will honor it. Until the formal presentation." The two aliens locked gazes, a silent battle of wills that made the air feel electric. Finally, Gorvan stepped back. 3 days, janitor, enjoy them." The Crimson Hegemony forces retreated. Jack released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Thanks," he said to Kalor. "Though I'm guessing you didn't do that out of the kindness of your heart." Kalor's expression could have frozen suns. "You guess correctly. I preserve you only because the princess commands it. But understand this. Human, you are an insult to everything Valoria represents. A genetic inferior playing at matters beyond your comprehension." Genetic inferior. Jack felt old anger stirring. "That's what you called us during the wars too. Right before you destroyed our colonies. Your colonies were in disputed space. The strong claim what the weak cannot hold." Kalor leaned closer. "Just as the strong claim mates the weak cannot keep. 3 days. Mercer, present your normal day. Let the galaxy see what humanity truly offers. Then, when the princess rejects you like all the others, perhaps your species will finally learn its place." He swept away, leaving Jack and Maria alone in the corridor. The emergency lights cast everything in shades of blood and shadow. "Well," Maria said shakily, "at least now we know where we stand." "Yeah," Jack agreed. "In the crosshairs?" They made it to Jack's quarters without further incident. Maria insisted on sweeping for surveillance devices, her military paranoia in full display. She found 3 bugs, 2 trackers, and something that might have been a small explosive. "Your popularity is really paying off," she said, disposing of the devices. "So, what's the plan? You can't just walk into that presentation unprepared." Jack slumped on his couch. "Why not? Preparation isn't normal. Normal is making it up as you go and hoping for the best."
"That's insane."
"That's human." Jack stared at his ceiling, thinking. She's had a lifetime of perfect plans and optimal outcomes. Maybe what she needs is someone who doesn't have a plan. Someone who just is. Maria sat beside him. "You really like her." "I don't know her enough to like her," Jack said. "But I understand her. That feeling of being trapped by circumstances. Of wanting something different but not knowing how to get it. The colony ship Horizon wasn't your fault, Jack." "I know." He closed his eyes. "But knowing and feeling are different things. For 2 years, I've been going through the motions, cleaning floors, avoiding connections, just existing. Then this princess laughs at my stupid joke and suddenly I remember what it's like to be a person instead of a ghost." Maria was quiet for a moment. "Your parents would be proud." "My parents would think I'd lost my mind." "That too." She stood. "Get some rest. You've got 2 more days to figure out how to date royalty without starting a war." After she left, Jack tried to sleep but couldn't. His mind kept racing through possibilities, each more unlikely than the last. What did you do with a princess who had everything? How did you show someone normal, when normal was exactly what everyone would be watching for flaws? His comm unit chimed. Unknown sender. Jack almost deleted it, then noticed the encryption signature, military-grade Valorian protocols. Curious despite himself, he opened it. The message was brief. Level 7 Observation Deck 3, 1 hour. Come alone. Jack stared at the screen. It could be a trap. Probably was a trap. But that initial? An hour later. He stood in the specified observation deck, a smaller, less popular one that looked out on the station's industrial sector. Not exactly a romantic view, but private. Princess Aravel stood in the shadows, wrapped in a hooded cloak that did nothing to hide her inhuman grace. "This is dangerous," Jack said, "for both of us."
Everything in my life is dangerous, she replied. At least this danger I chose. She moved to the window. Tell me about your family.
The question hit like a physical blow. Why? Because in all the files, all the reports about the Horizon incident, they're just numbers. 800 casualties. I want to know who they were. Jack's first instinct was to refuse. That pain was private, sacred. But something in her voice made him talk. "My father was an engineer," he said slowly. "Brilliant, but absent-minded. Once spent 3 days designing a better coffee maker while forgetting to eat. My mother was a teacher. She could make anyone understand anything. Had this way of explaining complex things through stories." He smiled, despite the ache. "My sister wanted to be a pilot. 8 years old and already knew every ship classification in the fleet. Said she'd captain her own vessel someday." "What were their names?" "David, Sarah, little Emma." Speaking their names aloud after so long felt like reopening wounds. They were excited about the colony, new world, new opportunities. Dad was going to help build the infrastructure. Mom would start a school. Emma would grow up under alien stars. "I'm sorry," Aravel said quietly. "They sound wonderful." "They were just people," Jack said. "Good people who believed in a better future. Like thousands of others on that ship. All gone because someone decided that sector was strategically important. The commander of that fleet was executed for war crimes."
I know.
Jack's hands clenched.
Didn't bring anyone back, though.
They stood in silence, watching cargo drones navigate between loading bays. Finally, Aravel spoke. "My mother died when I was 7. Not in war. A genetic disorder. Ironic for a species that prides itself on biological perfection. My father retreated into politics. Lord Kaelor raised me, turned me into the perfect princess. Every day scheduled, every word scripted, every thought aimed at optimal outcomes."
Sounds suffocating.
"It was efficient," she said. "Until recently. These Suitor presentations were supposed to be simple. Mathematical compatibility, political advantage, genetic optimization. Pick the best candidate, secure the alliance, produce the heirs. But the more perfect matches I met, the more I realized something." "What?" She turned to him. "Perfection is boring." Jack laughed, couldn't help it. "So you picked the least perfect candidate possible."
I picked the only real person in a room full of performances. She stepped closer. Do you know what Lord Kaelor said when I included you? That it was a phase. That I was acting out. That I'd come to my senses when I saw how inferior you were.
"He's not exactly wrong," Jack said. "I am just a janitor. No wealth, no power, no extraordinary abilities. I can't even offer you proper status in human society." "Good," Aravel said firmly. "I have enough status for several lifetimes. What I don't have is a single, authentic conversation that isn't laced with agenda. Until you. So I'm, what, your rebellion against authority?"
No.
Her voice softened.
You're my hope that there's
something more than optimization algorithms and political marriages. That maybe, just maybe, two people can connect without the weight of empires on their shoulders. Jack felt something shift in his chest. "That's a lot of pressure for a first date." "Then it's a good thing you don't care about pressure." She pulled back her hood fully, revealing a small smile. 3 days. Jack Mercer. Show me what it means to be wonderfully, imperfectly human. She vanished into the shadows before he could respond. Jack stood alone, staring out at the industrial sector, trying to process what just happened. He'd come to this station to disappear, to fade into the background, and quietly exist. Instead, he'd caught the attention of possibly the most prominent being in the galaxy. His comm unit buzzed. "Maria, again. Where the hell are you?" "Never mind. Don't answer. Just tell me you're not doing something stupid." Jack typed back, "Definitely doing something stupid. But maybe stupid is what we need." He made his way back through the station's corridors, noting the increased security presence. Guards at every junction, surveillance drones humming through the air. The galaxy was watching, waiting to see what the human janitor would do. Back in his quarters, Jack pulled up his entertainment files. Movies, music, games, all the detritus of human culture he'd brought with him. What did you show someone who'd studied everything but experienced nothing? His eyes fell on his mop, propped in the corner. An idea started forming. Ridiculous, impossible, but undeniably human. Jack smiled. 3 days to plan the worst best date in galactic history. If he was going to fail spectacularly, at least he'd give them a show worth watching. He opened a new file and started typing. Operation Normal Day, Step 1. Teach an alien princess the subtle art of doing absolutely nothing productive. Outside his window, the stars continued their eternal dance, indifferent to the small human planning to upend centuries of tradition with nothing but sincerity and a cleaning implement. But for the first time in 2 years, Jack Mercer felt like he was exactly where he needed to be, even if it killed him. 2 days until the presentation, Jack woke to find his door had been welded shut from the outside. A sticky note on the inside read, "For your protection, Mem." He sighed and activated his comm unit. "Maria, I need to leave my room." "Negative. 3 more assassination attempts last night. One guy tried to poison the air recycling system in your sector."
How do you poison recycled air?
Nexan biochemistry. Don't ask. Point is, you're staying put until I can secure a route to the presentation hall. Jack looked around his small quarters. I can't plan a date while trapped in a box.
Then get creative. That's what humans do, right?
The comm went dead. Jack stared at his welded door, then at his preparation notes. How did you get creative when you couldn't even leave your room? He pulled up the station schematics on his terminal. The maintenance tunnels were still accessible through the emergency hatch. Not exactly dignified, but then again, neither was anything else about this situation. 20 minutes later, Jack emerged from a ventilation grate in Storage Bay 9 covered in dust and holding his trusty mop. The bay was mostly empty, filled with spare parts and forgotten equipment. Perfect for what he had in mind. Going somewhere, janitor. Jack spun to find Ambassador Zelnick floating near the ceiling, his crystalline form pulsing with soft radiation. The Quantum Collective representative was one of Aravel's more exotic suitors, a being of living energy, housed in a containment suit. Just working, Jack said carefully. Floors don't clean themselves.
Indeed.
Zelnick descended, his form casting prismatic shadows. Tell me, organic, what is it like to be so limited, bound by flesh, governed by chemical impulses, slave to entropy? It has its moments. Jack kept his grip loose on the mop. What's it like being a sentient light show? Zelnick's radiation flared, possibly an amusement. You jest in the face of superiority. How quaint. The princess finds this appealing. You'd have to ask her. I have. Repeatedly. She speaks in riddles about authenticity and connection. Meaningless concepts to beings of pure thought. Zelnick circled Jack slowly. We could offer her immortality. You know, transcendence beyond physical form. What can flesh provide that energy cannot? Jack thought about it. Heartburn, stubbed toes, the satisfaction of a good stretch after sleeping wrong. You list deficiencies as though they were treasures. Maybe they are. Jack met the alien's pulsing gaze. When you can't feel pain, how do you know when you're alive? Zelnick's form flickered rapidly. Philosophy from a janitor. How unexpected. He drifted toward the exit. Enjoy your limitations while you can. Organic. After the presentation, the princess will choose logic over sentiment. She always does. After he left, Jack let out a long breath. Even the energy beings were threatened by him. How had his life gotten this complicated? He spent the next hour gathering supplies. Emergency rations that almost tasted like real food. A portable projector from the abandoned recreation center. Even managed to find some string lights that still worked. Everything went into a maintenance cart that had seen better days. Planning a party. Jack didn't jump this time. He was getting used to being ambushed. General Theros of the Valorian military stood in the doorway, imposing even by alien standards. 7.5 feet of engineered warrior perfection. Something like that, Jack said. You here to threaten me too? No. Theros moved with predator grace, examining Jack's collection. I'm here to understand. I've served the royal family for 40 years. Watched Princess Aravel grow from a curious child to a brilliant woman. Never once has she shown interest in anything beyond duty. Maybe that's the problem. Theros picked up one of the ration packets, reading the label with multiple eyes. Synthetic pizza. This is what you offer royalty. I offer her a choice, Jack said. When was the last time anyone did that? Every suitor offers choices. Worlds, wealth, power. Those aren't choices. They're just different cages. Jack faced the general. Bigger, prettier, but still cages. Theros was quiet for a moment. You fought in the colonial conflicts. I didn't fight. I was 12. I just survived. Yet you harbor no hatred for Valorians. Jack's jaw tightened. I harbor plenty of hatred, but not for her. She didn't start that war any more than I did. Lord Kaelor believes you seek revenge, that this is an elaborate human plot to humiliate our species. Lord Kaelor's an ass. Theros made a sound that might have been laughter. On that, we agree. But he holds the council's ear. If the princess chooses you, he will challenge it. Tradition allows for trial by combat if a suitor is deemed unworthy. Let me guess, combat to the death. Naturally. He's already selected his champion. Myself. Jack's heart sank. You! I am the Queen's blade. Where she points, I cut. Theros turned to leave, then paused. But perhaps the blade grows dull with age. Perhaps, in the heat of combat, reactions might be slower than expected. He left without another word. Jack stood among his party supplies, processing what just happened. Did the general just offer to throw a death match? The politics of this place made his head spin. His comm buzzed. Another encrypted message. Garden Dome, midnight. Bring the mop. Jack smiled despite everything. At least someone appreciated his cleaning equipment. He spent the rest of the day dodging security, gathering supplies, and trying not to think about combat trials. Maria checked in every hour, growing increasingly frantic about his escape from quarters. He promised to explain later, knowing she'd probably weld him inside a storage container next. Midnight found him in the Garden Dome, one of the station's attempts at preserving natural beauty. Trees from a dozen worlds grew in careful harmony, their alien foliage creating a canopy of impossible colors. Jack found Aravel by the Earth section, studying a simple oak tree with intense focus. It's just a tree, he said. Nothing is just anything, she replied without turning. This organism converts radiation into chemical energy, communicates through underground networks, and can live for centuries. Yet you call it just a tree. Fair point. He moved beside her. Though sometimes a tree is just nice to sit under. Show me. So he did. They sat beneath the oak, backs against rough bark, looking up through familiar leaves. Jack had brought a thermos of coffee, the good stuff he'd been saving. Aravel took a careful sip and made a face. It's bitter. It's an acquired taste. Jack took a drink. Like most good things in life.
Is that human philosophy?
That's Jack philosophy. We're not all the same. You know, humans. I mean, we're just as varied as any other species.
I know. She leaned back. I've studied your history, your wars, your art, your dreams. But studying and knowing are different things.
Like the tree.
Like the tree. She was quiet for a moment. Lord Kaelor says you're using me.
Lord Kaelor says a lot of things. He's not always wrong. Everyone uses me, in their way. For status. For power. For the future of their species. Why should you be different?
Jack considered his answer carefully.
Maybe I am using you, but not for what you think.
She turned to him, those impossible eyes reflecting starlight through the dome. Then for what?
To remember how to be human.
The words came out raw, honest. For 2 years, I've been going through the motions. Work, eat, sleep, repeat. No connections, no risks, no feelings beyond the safe ones. Then you laughed at my stupid joke, and suddenly I remembered what it was like to care about something.
So I'm your therapy?
No. He met her gaze. You're my wake-up call. And maybe I'm yours. She studied him for a long moment.
The council met today. They've approved Kaelor's motion for combat trials if I choose someone deemed genetically inferior.
I heard. Your general paid me a visit.
Theros spoke to you.
She seemed surprised.
What did he say? That he might be getting old and slow.
Jack managed a smile.
I don't suppose you could just pick someone else, save everyone the trouble.
I could. She plucked a blade of earthgrass. Prince Gorvin would make a powerful alliance. Ambassador Zelnick offers technological advancement. Even Lord Kaelor has suggested his nephew as an option.
Sounds like a stellar lineup.
Yes. She split the grass blade with precision. And in 40 years, I'll be just like my mother. Perfect, powerful, and utterly empty inside.
Your mother wasn't empty. She loved you.
How could you know that?
Because you remember her. Empty people don't leave marks that deep.
Jack shifted to face her.
What was she like before the politics and the perfection?
Aravel's expression softened. She sang Valorian classical harmonies, but also folk songs from the outer colonies. Songs about farmers and builders and ordinary people doing ordinary things. Father said it was beneath her station. She sang them anyway, when he wasn't around. She sounds wonderful.
She was... until the genetic disorder manifested. Then she was a problem to be solved. Treatments, procedures, optimization protocols. They kept her alive 2 extra years. But she wasn't her anymore. Just a shell performing the role of queen.
Jack reached out, then hesitated.
May I?
She nodded. He took her hand, careful of the extra joints, the slightly different temperature. Her fingers wrapped around his with surprising strength.
My mom used to say that life isn't about the years. It's about the moments. The little ones that sneak up on you. First snow, perfect coffee, bad jokes that make you laugh anyway. Human sentiment. Maybe. But your mother sang folk songs. That's the same thing. Isn't it finding beauty in the small things?
Aravel squeezed his hand. Lord Kaelor would say we're being foolish. That compatibility algorithms and genetic markers matter more than moments. Lord Kaelor's never sat under a tree with someone who gets it.
No, she agreed. He hasn't.
They sat in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching artificial stars through the dome's ceiling. Jack tried to memorize the moment. The smell of earth oak mixing with alien flowers, the soft hum of the station systems, the weight of her hand in his, impossibly real.
What's your plan for the presentation? She asked eventually.
Would you believe I'm making it up as I go? Yes, she sounded amused. That seems very human.
The most human, he grinned. Though I might have stolen some supplies. Your synthetic pizza awaits. You're really going to serve me replicated human food in front of the galactic elite. Unless you have a better idea for a normal first date. She laughed, that genuine sound he was starting to crave. Oh, Jack Mercer, you're either going to save me or destroy me. Maybe both.
Maybe both.
She stood, pulling him up.
I should go. The morning brings more suitors, more presentations, more perfection I must endure.
One more day. One more day. She looked up at him. If Kaelor challenges and Theros falls, they'll execute you. You know this. Yeah, Jack shrugged. But hey, at least I'll go out doing something memorable. Here lies Jack Mercer. He died for synthetic pizza and bad movies. That's not funny.
It's a little funny.
She reached up, touching his face with alien fingers. You impossible human. What am I going to do with you? Give me a chance.
I already have.
She stepped back.
The question is what you'll do with it.
She vanished into the garden's shadows, leaving Jack alone with the earth tree and the weight of tomorrow. He sat back down, looking up through the leaves. Somewhere among those false stars, his family's ship had died. Somewhere in this station, people were plotting his death. And somewhere in between, he'd found something worth the risk. His comm buzzed. Maria, where the hell are you? Jack typed back, under a tree, contemplating mortality. You. Contemplating homicide. Get back here. He gathered his mop and headed for the maintenance tunnels. One more day to plan the impossible. One more day to be human in a universe that valued everything but humanity. One more day to prove that sometimes the small moments mattered more than grand gestures. The station hummed around him as he crawled through the vents. Hundreds of species going about their lives, following their patterns, optimizing their outcomes. And one janitor with a mop, about to offer an alien princess the most valuable thing he had absolutely nothing special at all. Jack smiled in the darkness. His parents would definitely think he'd lost his mind. But maybe losing your mind was the first step to finding your heart. The next morning came too fast. Jack woke in his quarters to find the door had been unwelded and reinforced with military-grade plating. A note read, "Compromise. Don't make me regret this." He stumbled to his shower, trying to shake off dreams of combat trials and execution. His reflection looked haggard. 2 years of hidden grief had left marks, and 3 days of alien politics hadn't helped. He looked like exactly what he was a tired janitor in over his head. Perfect. Jack dressed in his usual work clothes. No fancy suit, no ceremonial robes, just the blue-gray uniform that marked him as maintenance staff. He clipped his ID badge to his chest, picked up his mop, and headed out to face the day. The corridors buzzed with activity. Every species in the Alliance seemed to have sent representatives. Jack caught snippets of conversation in a dozen languages, all speculating about the princess's final choice. Betting pools had him at 1,000-to-1 odds. He briefly considered putting money on himself, then remembered he barely had money for next week's rations. Mr. Mercer. Undersecretary Vix appeared from nowhere, all 4 arms flailing. There you are, the ceremony begins in 6 hours, and you haven't been fitted for formal wear. Still not wearing formal wear, Jack said. But the protocols. Tell the protocols I'm busy. He kept walking. Vix followed, practically vibrating with anxiety. You must at least present your genetic profile and your gift. All suitors must present a gift. Jack stopped. A gift? Of course it's tradition. Prince Gorvin has commissioned a symphony that plays in gravitational waves. Lord Kaelor's nephew offers a star he's had named after the princess. What do you offer? Jack looked at his mop, then at the frantic alien. An idea formed. Tell you what, you want to help? I need access to the kitchens. The human section.
The kitchens? And a clean tablecloth. Maybe some of those battery-powered candles from emergency supplies.
Vix's skin cycled through confused colors. You're going to cook for her. Something like that. Jack smiled. Trust me, or don't. Either way, I need those kitchens. The undersecretary looked like he might faint, or whatever Nexons did instead of fainting, but he nodded. I'll make arrangements. The galaxy help us all. Jack spent the next 3 hours in the kitchen, fumbling through recipes half-remembered from childhood. The food synthesizers could produce basic ingredients, but actual cooking was a lost art for most humans. He burned the first batch, oversalted the second, but slowly, painfully, something edible emerged. What is that smell? Maria appeared in the doorway, nose wrinkled. Dinner, Jack said, not looking up from his work. Mom's spaghetti recipe, or as close as I can get with synthetic tomatoes. You're cooking, for alien royalty, spaghetti. It's normal first date food. Maria leaned against the counter. Jack, I need you to listen to me. Really listen. This isn't a game. Those other suitors have armies, fleets, the power to destroy worlds. What do you have? Jack paused in his stirring. A mop and a dream. This isn't funny. It's not supposed to be. He turned to face her. Maria, I spent 2 years being nobody, invisible, safe. You know where that got me nowhere. Still carrying all the pain. Just quieter. Maybe this is insane. Maybe I die today. But at least I'm trying. Trying what to get yourself killed. To matter. To someone. For a moment. He went back to cooking. She could choose any of them. Probably should. But she asked me to show her normal. So that's what I'm doing. Maria was quiet for a long moment. Your funeral, she said finally. But for what it's worth, I think you're the bravest idiot I've ever met. Thanks, I think. She helped him pack everything into transport containers. The spaghetti, the synthetic garlic bread, even a bottle of cheap red wine he'd been saving. It looked pathetic compared to symphonies and stars. But it was real, or as real as anything got on a space station. You know what the funny thing is, Jack said as they loaded the last container. I'm not even sure I like her. As a person. I mean, we've talked, 3 times. But there's something there. This connection. That's called trauma bonding, Maria said dryly. You're both broken in compatible ways. Maybe. Or maybe that's what connection is. Finding someone whose broken pieces fit with yours. The presentation hall was already filling when they arrived. Jack had never seen so many species in one place. The crowd parted as he passed, whispers following in his wake. The human janitor, the cosmic joke, the soon-to-be dead man walking. Courage, Maria murmured. Whatever happens, you changed things, made them all look at us differently. Jack gripped his mop tighter. Let's hope it's enough. They reached the preparation area, where other suitors made final adjustments to their presentations. Prince Gorvin's symphony equipment took up half the space. Ambassador Zelnick had somehow contained a miniature star in a quantum field. Even the minor suitors had treasures beyond imagination. And Jack had spaghetti and a mop. He found a corner and started setting up. The tablecloth over a maintenance crate. Battery candles for ambiance. 2 plates. 2 sets of human utensils. It looked like a child's tea party compared to the grandeur around him. Pathetic. Lord Kalor appeared, resplendent in ceremonial armor. This is what humanity offers, processed food and desperation. It's what I offer, Jack corrected. Humanity's got nothing to do with it. Everything you are reflects on your species. When you fail, and you will fail, it will confirm what everyone knows. Humans are servants, not partners. Jack met his cold gaze. You really hate us that much. You're insects. Briefly annoying, but ultimately irrelevant. Kalor leaned closer. The princess thinks she's being rebellious, choosing you for the charade. But when faced with the reality of binding herself to genetic waste, She'll see reason. Maybe. Or maybe she'll surprise you. Nothing surprises me anymore. Janitor. I've seen too much, lived too long. Your species burns bright and brief, like your pathetic spaghetti candles. We endure. Yeah, Jack smiled grimly. Well, this insect's got one advantage. I've got nothing to lose. Can you say the same? Something flickered in Kaylor's eyes. Just for a moment. Then the mask was back. Enjoy your last hours, Mercer. I'll try to make your death quick. He strode away, leaving Jack with his humble setup and growing dread. Around him, the greatest powers in the galaxy prepared to compete for a princess who didn't want any of them, and one human prepared to offer her the one thing they couldn't, a quiet dinner with no strings attached. The lights dimmed. A harmonic tone signaled the ceremony's beginning. Jack straightened his janitor uniform, picked up his mop, and prepared to either make history or become it. Time to find out which. The throne room had been transformed into an amphitheater of worlds. Holographic projections created tiers of seating that defied physics, allowing thousands to observe while maintaining perfect sightlines. Jack stood in the preparation area, watching alien dignitaries file in, and wondered if his parents could see him from wherever souls went when ships exploded. Nervous, Maria appeared beside him, dressed in her formal military uniform. You look like you're about to vomit. Just contemplating mortality, Jack said, adjusting the battery candles on his makeshift table. Do you think they'll let me finish the spaghetti before executing me? Gallows humor. Classic human defense mechanism. She straightened his collar with surprising gentleness. For what it's worth, Rodriguez started a betting pool. You're up to 100-to-1 odds now. Moving up in the world, a fanfare of impossible harmonics silenced the crowd. Princess Aravel entered from the royal entrance, and Jack's breath caught. She wore traditional Valorian ceremonial robes that seemed to be cut from starlight itself, shifting between dimensions with each movement. But it was her expression that struck him, perfectly composed, utterly unreachable. The mask was back in full force. Lord Kaylor followed, speaking in resonant tones that carried to every corner of the room. We gather to witness the final choosing. 1,017 have sought the hand of Princess Aravel. Today, she selects from among the worthy. And one unworthy, someone called out. Laughter rippled through certain sections. Kaylor's smile was sharp. Indeed, by ancient law, any may present themselves. But also by ancient law, the worthiness of a match may be challenged through combat. Let all who stand here understand choice carries consequence. The presentations began. Prince Gorvan went first, his gravitational symphony literally bending space around the listeners. Notes that existed in 11 dimensions created harmonics human ears couldn't fully process. But Jack felt them in his bones. A love song written in the fundamental forces of the universe. Aravel listened politely, thanked him formally, and moved on. Ambassador Zelnick presented his contained star, explaining how he'd captured it at the moment of birth, frozen in eternal potential. Like my devotion to you, he intoned, his crystalline form pulsing with its light. Forever beginning, never ending. Aravel admired it briefly, thanked him formally, and moved on. One by one, the greatest powers in the galaxy laid their offerings before her. Planets, fleets, technologies beyond imagination, art that transcended physical form, promises of power that could reshape civilizations. Aravel thanked them all formally and moved on. Finally, only Jack remained. The crowd leaned forward, eager to witness the humiliation of the human janitor. He picked up his mop and walked to the center of the floor, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Your Highness, he said, pleased his voice didn't crack. I don't have a symphony or a star. I don't have armies or algorithms. I have dinner. He gestured to his simple setup. Spaghetti, my mother's recipe, or as close as I could get with synthetic ingredients. Garlic bread that's probably too salty. Wine that costs less than the bottle it came in. And an evening where you don't have to be anything but yourself. The silence stretched. Then someone laughed. Then another. Soon, whole sections were in uproar. The human had brought lunch to a cosmic exhibition. But Aravel stepped forward, studying his presentation with the same intensity she'd given the contained star. Is this what humans call a date? The normal kind. Yeah. Usually there'd be a restaurant. Maybe a movie after. But I figured we could watch something on my tablet. I have a collection of what we call so bad they're good films. Terrible special effects. Worse dialogue. But somehow entertaining.
And the mop.
Jack grinned. That's for after dinner. Thought I'd teach you the ancient human art of food fight cleanup. The laughter doubled. Lord Kaelor stepped forward, radiating fury. This is mockery. You dare offer the Princess of Valoria synthetic pasta and menial labor. I offer her Tuesday night, Jack said simply. Just a regular Tuesday night where nothing important happens except maybe laughing at a bad joke or arguing about whether the movie makes sense. The kind of night that doesn't change the galaxy, but maybe changes how you see it. He turned to Aravel, whose expression remained unreadable. I can't compete with them, Your Highness. I won't try. But if you want one evening where you're not a princess, and I'm not a janitor, where we're just two people sharing mediocre food and worse entertainment, tables set. The throne room held its breath. Aravel moved closer, circling his humble display. She picked up a battery candle, examined it like an artifact, sniffed the spaghetti with scientific precision. Her fingers brushed the checkered tablecloth.
All my life, she said, her voice carrying despite its softness. I have been offered the extraordinary, powers beyond measure, beauty beyond description, perfection beyond question. She looked at Jack. No one has ever offered me ordinary Tuesday. She sat down at his makeshift table. The crowd erupted. Shouts of disbelief in 100 languages. Prince Gorvan's delegation stormed out in protest. Ambassador Zelnick's form flickered through spectrums of indignation. But loudest of all was Lord Kaelor's voice, cutting through chaos like a blade. I invoke the right of challenge. Silence fell like a hammer. Aravel's expression finally cracked, showing a flicker of fear. Kaelor, you would bind yourself to this creature, this genetic inferior who offers you scraps and degradation. The Valorian Lord's scarred face twisted with disgust. I will not allow it. By blood and tradition, I challenge the worthiness of this match. On what grounds? Aravel stood, royal authority flooding her voice. On all grounds: genetic incompatibility, social impossibility, the degradation of the royal line. This human is unfit to clean your floors, much less share your throne. That's not your decision. No, Kaelor agreed. It's his. All eyes turned to Jack. He carefully set down his mop, very aware that his next words might be his last. Let me guess. Single combat death or surrender? Death or death, Kaelor corrected. This is not a game, janitor. Accept the challenge or be branded a coward, unworthy of consideration. Refuse, and leave in shame. Fight, and die with what little honor your species possesses. Jack looked at Aravel. She was trying to maintain composure, but he saw the slight tremor in her hands. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. Yeah, I do. He turned back to Kaelor. But I've got terms. The Lord laughed. You dare set terms. Ancient law says any may present themselves. Doesn't say anything about them being warriors. Jack's mind raced through possibilities. I invoke the right of substitution. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Even Kaelor looked momentarily uncertain. Substitution. Old Earth law. Pre-space colonization, but technically still valid for human citizens. I can name a champion to fight in my place.
Cowardice. Pragmatism. You're a trained killer with centuries of experience. I clean floors. How is that a fair test of worthiness? Jack pressed on before Kaylor could object. Unless you're afraid you can't beat whoever I choose. Kaylor's eyes narrowed. Name your champion, then. What warrior will die for a janitor's delusions? Jack scanned the crowd, looking for Maria. She'd kill him herself for this. But she was military trained. Maybe she could last long enough to...
I will stand.
General Theros stepped from the royal guard, his massive frame cutting through the crowd like a warship through water.
I will be the humans' champion.
The throne room exploded again. Valorian fighting Valorian over a human's right to court their princess. It was unprecedented, impossible, unthinkable. You betray your oath, Kaylor snarled. Your duty is to the throne. My duty is to the princess, Theros corrected. And she has made her choice. A choice influenced by alien pheromones. Clearly, mental manipulation. This human has corrupted her judgment. Enough! Aravel's voice carried harmonic authority that made the room's atmosphere vibrate. General Theros, while I appreciate your gesture, I cannot allow... With respect, Highness, Theros interrupted, something he'd never done before. This is no longer about what you allow. Lord Kaylor has invoked ancient law. The human has responded within that law. I choose to stand as champion, unless... He turned to Kaylor. You wish to withdraw your challenge. Kaylor's face cycled through emotions too complex for human interpretation. You would die for this insult. I would die for the princess's right to choose her own path. Theros began removing his ceremonial armor, revealing the biosuit beneath. But I don't intend to die today.
Then you're a fool as well as a traitor.
Kaylor shed his own outer garments.
So be it. I'll remove two problems at once.
The crowd pulled back, creating an arena in the center of the throne room. Jack found himself pushed to the sidelines with Aravel. She gripped his hand tight enough to hurt.
This is my fault, she whispered. I should have just chosen one of them, played the part. Now Theros will die because I wanted.
Tuesday night, Jack squeezed back. Don't apologize for wanting something real. Real, she laughed bitterly. What's real about any of this champions and challenges and ancient laws? It's all performance. Maybe. But you sitting down at that table, that was real. She looked at him. Those impossible eyes, bright with unshed tears. If he dies... He won't. Jack wished he believed it. He's got something Kaylor doesn't. What? A reason to fight that isn't about power. The combatants circled each other. No weapons. Valorian honor duels were fought with bio-enhanced bodies alone. Kaylor moved like liquid mercury, each step calculated for maximum efficiency. Theros was more deliberate, defensive, watching for openings. 40 years of service, Kaylor said, his voice carrying easily. Thrown away for a janitor's fantasy. 40 years of watching you poison her mind, Theros replied. Telling her what to think, who to be, how to feel. It ends today. Everything I did was for Valoria, for our species, while you sympathize with inferiors. They're not inferior. They're just different. Different means inferior. The weak serve the strong. The low bow to the high. This is the way of things. Your way, Theros corrected, not hers. Kaylor struck first, moving faster than any being that size should. His fist connected with Theros's jaw with a sound like breaking stone. The general staggered but didn't fall. Old and slow, Kaylor taunted, circling again. Past your prime, like your ideals. Theros wiped blue blood from his mouth. Perhaps, but I'd rather be old and slow than young and empty. They clashed again, a blur of enhanced speed and engineered strength. Each blow would have killed a human instantly. The floor cracked under their feet. The air itself seemed to compress around their movements. Jack watched, helpless, as Theros took more hits than he gave. The general was skilled, but Kaelor was right. Age was showing. 40 years of ceremonial duty had dulled combat edges. "You feel it, don't you?" Kaelor landed another punishing blow. "Your body failing, your reaction slowing. This is what happens when you side with weakness. It infects you." Theros dropped to one knee, breathing hard. The crowd leaned in, sensing the end. Kaelor raised his fist for a killing strike. "Yield, old friend. Don't make me end you." "I yield." Theros coughed, more blood speckling the floor. "I yield nothing." He surged up, catching Kaelor by surprise. The momentum carried them both across the arena. They crashed into a pillar with bone-crushing force. Kaelor recovered first, driving his knee into Theros' ribs. Something cracked audibly. "Stubborn fool," Kaelor's composure finally cracked, showing raw fury beneath. "You would die for them, for him." "Not for him," Theros wheezed. "For her, for the right to choose." He managed to land a solid hit to Kaelor's temple. "Something you never understood." They separated, both bloodied now. Kaelor's perfect features were marred by a gash across his forehead. Theros could barely stand, one arm hanging useless. "Look at yourself," Kaelor said. "Broken for nothing. She'll tire of her pet human within a cycle. This whole farce will be forgotten. Your death will mean nothing." "My life meant something," Theros replied. "Can you say the same?" Something in those words hit deeper than any physical blow. Kaelor's face contorted with rage. He charged, abandoning technique for raw violence. Theros tried to dodge but was too slow. They went down together, Kaelor's hands finding the general's throat. "You want meaning," Kaelor squeezed, his enhanced strength crushing cartilage. "Here's meaning: the strong survive, the weak perish, and idealists like you fade to nothing." Theros' remaining good hand scrabbled weakly at Kaelor's grip. His movement slowed. His eyes began to dim. "No," Aravel whispered. She started forward, but Jack caught her arm. "Wait," he said, though it killed him to watch. "Look at his hand." Theros' fingers had found something on Kaelor's belt, a ceremonial blade, forgotten in the fury. With his last strength, he drove it up between armor plates. Kaelor's eyes widened in shock. He looked down at the blooming blue stain on his chest. That's not. Honor dueling forbids." "You abandoned honor when you denied her choice," Theros gasped. "I merely followed your example." Kaelor fell backward, the blade protruding from his chest. He tried to speak, but only blood came out. His perfect, engineered body spasmed once, twice, then went still. Theros collapsed beside him, his breathing labored and wet. Medical teams rushed in, but everyone could see the truth. Too much damage, too much blood lost. Aravel broke free from Jack's grip, dropping beside her general. "Theros, hold on! The medics!" "No, Highness." He managed a smile through bloody teeth. "This is a good death, a meaningful death." His fading eyes found Jack. "Human. Come here." Jack knelt beside them, his throat tight. "I'm sorry, this is my fault." "Your fault, boy. This is my choice." Theros gripped Jack's hand with surprising strength. 40 years I served. 40 years of watching her dim, piece by piece. Today, I saw her laugh. Real laughter. You did that. General, promise me." The grip tightened. "Promise you'll keep her laughing, even when it's hard, especially then." Jack nodded, not trusting his voice. "Good." Theros turned back to Aravel. "My princess, be yourself. Not what they want. Not what they expect. Yourself."
"I will," she whispered. "I promise."
"Then I am content." His eyes closed. A good death indeed. General Theros, defender of the throne for 40 years, died with a smile on his scarred face. The throne room was silent, except for Aravel's quiet sobbing. Jack stayed beside her, unsure what to do, what to say. Around them, the greatest powers in the galaxy watched in stunned silence. Finally, Aravel stood. Her tears had left silver tracks on her cheeks, but her voice was steady. Lord Kalor is dead. General Theros is dead. The challenge has been answered. Does anyone else wish to question my choice?
Silence. Then, by ancient law and by my will, I choose Jack Mercer. She looked at him, and he saw steel beneath the grief. A janitor who offered me Tuesday night and cost me my oldest protector. I choose him knowing the price. I choose him because of the price.
She turned to the crowd. You came seeking perfection, power, advantage. You leave with nothing. Our alliance offers what it always has: fair trade, mutual defense, shared knowledge. But my hand, my heart, those were never yours to claim. Your Highness, Undersecretary Vix ventured nervously. The ceremonies, the contracts. Will proceed as I direct. She took Jack's hand, pulling him to his feet. Mr. Mercer and I have dinner plans. The spaghetti's getting cold. She led him back to the simple table, past the bodies, past the shocked dignitaries, past 1,000 years of tradition. They sat down at his makeshift romantic dinner, battery candles flickering between them. I'm sorry, Jack said quietly. About Theros, about all of it. He made his choice. She picked up a fork, examining it like an alien artifact. Now I make mine. Show me how to eat spaghetti, Jack Mercer. Show me normal. So he did. In a room full of the galaxy's elite, with blood still cooling on the floor, they ate synthetic pasta and talked about nothing important. She laughed when he showed her how to twirl the noodles. He smiled when she declared the garlic bread aggressively flavored but oddly appealing. This is insane, Jack said at one point. Yes, she agreed, raising her glass of cheap wine. To insanity. To Tuesday nights. They clinked glasses while the universe watched. Later, there would be consequences. Political fallout. Probably more assassination attempts. Certainly complications he couldn't even imagine. But for now, they just ate dinner. The crowd eventually dispersed, muttering in various languages about witnessed impossibilities. Medical teams removed the bodies. Custodial crews, not Jack, cleaned the blood. But Jack and Aravel remained at their small table, working their way through increasingly cold spaghetti.
So, she said eventually, these bad movies you mentioned.
Jack pulled out his tablet, scrolling through options. How do you feel about time travel plots that make no sense? Intrigued? Then have I got a film for you. He queued up one of his favorites. A spectacularly awful production from Earth's early space era. Fair warning, the special effects are terrible. The science is worse. And the romance subplot will make you question human mating rituals. Perfect, she said, scooting her chair closer. Question, is it traditional to throw food at the screen when the plot becomes ridiculous? Only if you help clean up after... She smiled. And despite everything, the death, the chaos, the impossible situation they'd created, Jack felt something he hadn't experienced in 2 years. Hope. They watched 3 movies, each worse than the last. Aravel's running commentary was more entertaining than the films. She approached bad cinema like a xenobiologist studying a new species, finding patterns in the chaos, meaning in the nonsense. Your species tells the same stories repeatedly, she observed during a particularly derivative sequel. Journey, challenge, victory, romance. Why? Because we need to believe it's possible, Jack said. That ordinary people can do extraordinary things. That love conquers all. That happy endings exist. Do you believe that? He thought about Horizon, about Theros, about the weight of reality versus the lightness of hope. I'm starting to... She leaned against his shoulder, a gesture so simple and normal it took his breath away. The Council will fight this.
The other kingdoms will see it as weakness. Some of my own people will call for my abdication.
You could still choose someone else. I'd understand.
No. Her voice was quiet but certain.
Theros died for my right to choose. I won't dishonor that by choosing safely. She looked up at him. Besides, you promised to keep me laughing. That I did. Jack shifted to meet her gaze. Though I should warn you, I only know like 5 jokes, and you've heard 2 of them. Then you'll have to learn more. For you, I'll become a comedian.
Just be yourself, she said. That's what I chose. Not the humor or the normalcy or even the rebellion. I chose the man who sees me as a person first, princess second.
Deal, Jack said. Though I should probably learn proper Valorian etiquette at some point. Can't serve spaghetti at every state dinner.
Why not? She grinned.
Let them talk. The princess who chose a janitor and serves earth food at cosmic gatherings will be legendarily inappropriate. To legendary inappropriateness. Jack raised an imaginary glass.
To Tuesday nights, she countered. They went back to the movie. Her head on his shoulder, his arm around her. Tomorrow would bring challenges he couldn't imagine. But tonight was just dinner and bad movies with someone who understood that sometimes the most extraordinary thing you could offer was ordinary companionship.
His mop leaned against the table. Forgotten for the moment, but still there. Still his. A reminder that even the humblest tools could change the universe if wielded with purpose.
Or maybe that was just the wine talking.
Either way, as credits rolled on another terrible film, Jack Mercer, janitor, survivor, accidental suitor, found himself exactly where the universe needed him to be. Not bad for a Tuesday. The morning after came with all the subtlety of a supernova. Jack woke in his quarters to find 17 different news feeds playing on every available screen, all discussing the janitor incident. He stumbled to his coffee maker, trying to ignore headlines like Princess Chooses Poverty and The Mop That Shook the Galaxy. His door chimed. Jack expected Maria, or maybe security forces there to arrest him for causing a diplomatic crisis. Instead, he found Ambassador Holt, the head of human relations, looking like he'd aged a decade overnight. "Mr. Mercer," Holt said wearily, "may I come in?"
"Sure, coffee." "God, yes."
Jack poured 2 cups while Holt collapsed on his small couch. The ambassador was usually immaculate, but today his suit was wrinkled, his gray hair disheveled. "I've been in emergency sessions all night," Holt began.
"Do you have any idea what you've done?"
"Started a war. Prevented one, actually." Holt took a long sip. "The Valorian Council is in chaos. Half want to invalidate the choice. The other half are terrified of looking weak. 3 systems have already sent messages of support for what they're calling the love that transcends genetics."
"It's not. We barely know each other."
"Doesn't matter. You're a symbol now. The human who made a princess laugh. The janitor who caused the death of Lord Kalor." Holt's expression hardened. "Which brings me to why I'm here. The princess has requested you move to the royal quarters immediately."
Jack nearly dropped his mug.
"What?" "For your protection," she says. "Also, apparently, she wants to learn more about human breakfast foods." Holt rubbed his temples. "Mr. Mercer, I need to know. Are you prepared for this, really prepared? Because what comes next will make yesterday look like a casual lunch."
Jack thought about Theros dying with a smile, about Aravel's tears, about the weight of a promise made in blood.
"No, but I don't think anyone could be prepared for this." "Fair point." Holt stood. "Pack what you need. Royal security will escort you in an hour. And Mr. Mercer, try not to start any more revolutions before lunch." After he left, Jack sat in his small quarters, looking around at 2 years of carefully maintained anonymity. His few possessions, his narrow bed, his collection of old Earth movies. It wasn't much, but it had been safe, predictable. His calm buzzed. Maria, you're moving in with her already. What happened to taking things slow? Jack typed back. Apparently, we do everything backwards. First the galactic incident, then the moving in together. Maybe eventually we'll get around to a normal first date.
This isn't funny, Jack. It's a little funny. I'm coming over.
She arrived as he was packing, which wasn't taking long. 2 years of life fit into a single container. Maria watched him fold his spare janitor uniforms with something like sadness.
You know you can't go back, right? She said. Even if this falls apart, you'll never be invisible again. I know.
Jack picked up his mop, running his hands along the familiar handle.
Maybe that's okay. Being invisible wasn't really living anyway.
Your family would probably be horrified. He smiled. Dad, the practical engineer. Mom, the careful teacher. They'd tell me I was being reckless, throwing away stability for a chance at something impossible. And Emma. Jack's smile widened.
Emma would think it was the coolest thing ever. Her big brother dating an alien princess. She'd never shut up about it.
Maria moved closer, putting a hand on his shoulder.
They'd be proud of you.
Not for the princess thing. For choosing to live again. Royal security arrived exactly on time. 4 Valorian guards in ceremonial armor that could probably withstand nuclear strikes. They looked at Jack's single container and mop with expressions of bewilderment.
Is this all?
The lead guard asked. I travel light, Jack said. The journey to the royal quarters took them through parts of the station he'd only cleaned at night. Daylight revealed architectural marvels that defied physics, art that existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. Other beings stopped to stare as they passed, some with hostility, others with something like wonder. The royal quarters occupied an entire section of the station's upper tier. The doors alone were works of art, carved from materials that seemed to shift between states of matter. They opened at the guard's approach, revealing a space that made Jack's head spin. Gravity flowed in artistic patterns. Rooms existed at angles that shouldn't work. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. It was beautiful, alien, and completely overwhelming. Jack, he turned to find Aravel approaching, and his breath caught. She wasn't wearing ceremonial robes or royal regalia. Instead, she had on what looked like comfortable clothes, or the Valorian equivalent. Simple fabric that moved with her. Her hair was at hair. The strands seemed to have their own gravity pulled back casually. You came, she said, and there was relief in her voice. You asked, he replied.
I did.
Though I wasn't sure, after yesterday. She paused, vulnerability flickering across her features. Having second thoughts. Third and fourth thoughts, Jack admitted. But I'm here.
Good. Come, I'll show you your rooms.
Rooms plural. She led him through corridors that seemed to rearrange themselves as they walked. I thought you might want your own space. Somewhere to retreat when things get intense. They stopped at a doorway that opened onto a suite larger than his entire previous quarters deck. But what caught Jack's attention wasn't the size, it was the thoughtfulness. A simple Earth-standard bed, gravity that flowed in one predictable direction, a window that looked out on normal space, not the artistic interpretations favored by Valorians. I had it modified, Aravel said quietly. I wanted you to feel at home. This is... Jack set down his container, genuinely touched. Thank you.
There's more.
She gestured to a side room. I had them install human entertainment systems, downloaded what archives I could find, and... She seemed almost embarrassed. A kitchen, in case you want to cook again. Jack explored the space, finding thoughtful touches everywhere. Earth plants in the garden nook, a shelf perfect for his movie collection, even a proper mop storage rack. This must have taken all night to arrange, he said. I couldn't sleep anyway. She moved to the window, her reflection overlapping with stars. Theros is being prepared for state honors. the first non-royal to receive them. Lord Kaylor's family is demanding investigation. The council meets in 3 hours to discuss my fitness to rule. Fun morning.
Indeed. She turned to him. You could still leave. Take a transport to the outer colonies. I'd ensure your safety. Set you up with new identity. New life.
Is that what you want?
I want... She paused, choosing words carefully. I want to watch terrible movies and eat questionable food. I want to laugh at inappropriate times. I want someone who sees me as Aravel, not Your Highness. But what I want and what's safe for you are different things. Jack crossed to her, taking her hands. Her skin was warmer than human normal, with a texture like silk over steel. My family died because someone decided a shipping lane was worth more than 800 lives. I spent 2 years hiding from that pain, cleaning floors and pretending I didn't care about anything. Then you sat down at my ridiculous table and ate my mother's spaghetti while the galaxy watched. You know what I realized.
What?
That safe isn't the same as living. He squeezed gently. I made a promise to Theros. I intend to keep it. She studied his face with those impossible eyes. Even if the council invalidates my choice, even if they strip my title.
Especially then. You'd have more time for Tuesday nights. She laughed. That sound he was already addicted to. You impossible human! What am I going to do with you?
Right now, show me how your shower works. I smell like emergency rations and poor life choices.
Her laughter doubled. This way, fair warning. Valorian bathroom technology takes some getting used to. She wasn't kidding. The shower had 17 different settings, including options for gravity direction, molecular reconstruction, and something called emotional cleansing. Jack settled for what seemed closest to water and hoped for the best. When he emerged, dressed in fresh clothes, his last clean janitor uniform, he'd need to figure out wardrobe soon. He found Aravel in the main living area with company. Maria sat on what might have been a couch, looking deeply uncomfortable. Across from her was a Valorian Jack didn't recognize, elderly by their standards, with the kind of presence that commanded attention.
Jack, Aravel said. This is Counselor Vera, my mother's sister. She's here to... She paused. Actually, I'm not sure why she's here.
To see the human who's turned my niece's life inside out, Vera said. Her voice had the musical quality of all Valorians, but with steel underneath. And to decide whether to help or hinder your chances with the council.
Aunt, Aravel warned.
Peace, child. I'm not your enemy. Vera studied Jack with unsettling intensity. Tell me, Mr. Mercer, what do you know of Valorian mating bonds? Jack glanced at Aravel, who looked suddenly uncomfortable. Not much. Biology wasn't really covered in janitor training. When Valorians choose life partners, it's more than ceremony. Our neurochemistry adapts, creating bonds that transcend simple emotion. It's why we're so careful with selection. Once formed, these bonds are difficult to break. Okay.
The process usually takes years of careful interaction, controlled exposure to ensure compatibility. Vera leaned forward. My niece has known you for 4 days.
Aunt Vera, Aravel said sharply.
4 days, Vera continued. And already I see the early stages. Her biometrics, her behavioral patterns, even her gravitational field, all showing signs of adaptation. To you, a species we're not even certain we can bond with.
Jack felt his mouth go dry.
Is that dangerous?
Unknown, unprecedented, potentially catastrophic. Vera stood. Or potentially revolutionary. I haven't decided which.
Then why tell us? Aravel demanded.
Because the council will discover it soon enough. Lord Kaylor's supporters are already demanding biological scans. When they find evidence of bonding, they'll either use it as proof of manipulation or... She paused. Or They'll be forced to acknowledge that you've chosen on a level deeper than politics. She moved toward the door, then stopped. Theros was my friend. We served together in the early days, before politics consumed everything. He believed you were worth dying for. She looked at Jack. Prove him right. After she left, silence filled the room. Maria whistled low. So, alien soul bonding, that's new.
I didn't know, Aravel said quietly. I felt something, but I thought it was just attraction, rebellion. I didn't think...
Does it change anything? Jack asked. She looked at him, vulnerable and fierce at once.
Do you want it to...
He thought about soul bonds and biological imperatives, about the weight of connection versus the lightness of choice. No, whatever this is, however it works, I'm here because I want to be.
The council won't see it that way, Maria warned. They'll claim you've somehow infected her, used human pheromones or something.
Let them, Aravel said.
I'm tired of defending my choices, tired of justifying my existence to meet their expectations.
She stood, authority flooding her frame. In fact, let's give them something else to discuss. What did you have in mind? Jack asked, recognizing that tone. Breakfast, she smiled. In the main diplomatic cafeteria. Together, publicly.
Maria groaned. You're both insane.
Probably, Jack agreed. But at least we're consistently insane. The cafeteria was packed when they arrived. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Eating utensils hung frozen between plates and mouths. Every eye, sensor, and detection organ tracked their movement through the room. Aravel walked with her head high, Jack beside her. Their hands linked. They got food. She insisted on trying human breakfast. He gamely attempted Valorian morning cuisine and sat at a table in the center of the room. Everyone's staring, Jack murmured. Let them. She bit into something called a protein square and made a face.
This is terrible.
Trade you for the eggs. They're actually not bad. They swapped plates, ignoring the growing whispers. Other humans started nodding at Jack, small gestures of support. A few alien species did the same. Not many, but enough to notice. Your Highness. They looked up to find Prince Gorvin standing beside their table, his 4 eyes unreadable. Jack tensed, but the prince's attention was on Aravel. I wanted to apologize, Gorvin said formally, for my behavior, for the threats against your companion. Apology accepted, Aravel said carefully.
I also wanted to say...
He paused, clearly struggling. When you laughed, real laughter, not the political kind. I realized I'd never heard that before. In all my presentations, all my efforts, I never made you laugh. He looked at Jack. He did. Perhaps that matters more than gravitational symphonies. He bowed and left. Jack and Aravel exchanged glances. Did that just happen? Jack asked.
I think we may have accidentally started a philosophical revolution, Aravel said.
Before breakfast, too. Must be some kind of record. They were halfway through their meal when alarms began blaring. Not the standard security alerts. These were different. Older. Jack had heard them only in historical documentaries. War protocols, Aravel breathed. Someone's attacked Alliance space. The cafeteria erupted in controlled chaos. Military personnel rushed to stations. Diplomatic staff began emergency procedures. In the center of it all, Jack and Aravel sat frozen. Their small revolution suddenly insignificant. A hologram materialized above their table. Admiral Reyes, Human Fleet Command, her face grim. Your Highness, Mr. Mercer, we need you in Strategic Command, now. What's happened? Aravel demanded. 3 Valorian border colonies. Hit simultaneously. No survivors. The Admiral's expression darkened. The attackers left a message. They're protesting your choice, Your Highness. They say if Valoria can mate with genetic inferiors, then Valoria has fallen. This is their response. Jack felt the blood drain from his face. How many dead? 40,000. And counting. Reyes cut the connection.
Aravel stood slowly, and Jack saw transformation happen in real time. The woman who'd laughed at his jokes, who'd struggled with breakfast foods, vanished. In her place stood the princess of Valoria, and her fury could have powered stars. "They dare," she said, her voice harmonizing with frequencies that made the air itself angry. "They dare use my choice as excuse for slaughter." "Arivel." "No." She turned to him, and her eyes held death. "This is what I tried to prevent. What Theros died believing we could avoid. But if they want war, if they need to paint their prejudice in blood—" She paused, visibly fighting for control.
"Then they'll learn why Valoria has stood for millennia."
She strode from the cafeteria, every inch the warrior princess. Jack followed, his mind reeling. 40,000 dead. Because of him. Because of them. "It's not your fault," Maria said, appearing at his side. "Isn't it?"
"No. It's the fault of whoever thinks genocide is an appropriate response to an interspecies relationship." She kept pace with him. "Don't let them put this on you." Strategic Command was a storm of activity. Holograms showed the attacked colonies, or what was left of them. The destruction was thorough, deliberate. Cities reduced to glass. Defense satellites floating dead in space. "Report," Aravel commanded as they entered. General Karras, Theros' replacement, pulled up tactical displays. "Coordinated strikes using Valorian weapon signatures. But the energy readings are wrong. Someone's mimicking our technology."
"Who?" "Unknown. The colony's last transmissions mention ships with no identifying marks. Professional, efficient." He paused. "And they left survivors. Children. Specifically children who could report the attacker's message."
"Which was—" Karras looked uncomfortable. "That Valoria's bloodline must remain pure. That your choice is an abomination. That this is the beginning of a cleansing."
Arivel absorbed this with terrifying calm.
"Options. The Council demands immediate retaliation. They want to glass 3 human colonies in response."
"What?" Jack stepped forward. "That's insane."
"It's protocol," Kira said coldly. "Blood for blood. The traditional response."
"Whose tradition?" Arivel's voice could have frozen stars. "Show me the law that demands we punish innocents for fanatics' crimes."
"Your Highness."
"Show me." Silence. Karras pulled up legal documents, scrolling through ancient texts. "Here. The reciprocity doctrine. When Valoria is attacked, response must be swift and proportional. It's been interpreted to mean—" "I know what it's been interpreted to mean." Aravel studied the text. "It says proportional, not identical, not against the same species."
"The Council won't see it that way."
"Then the Council can explain to me why they want to murder human children for the crimes of Valorian extremists."
"We don't know they're Valorian," Karras protested. "No. Who else has our weapon signatures? Who else cares about our bloodline purity?" She turned to the assembled command staff. "We're being manipulated. Someone wants us at war with humanity. Someone who benefits from chaos." "Lord Kaelor had supporters," Jack said quietly. Everyone turned to him. "He can't have been the only one who thought that way. Maybe his death triggered something."
Aravel nodded slowly. "Martyrdom. Create atrocities in his name. Force us into traditional responses. Prove that his way was right." She looked at Admiral Reyes. "What's humanity's position?"
"We're mobilizing defenses but taking no aggressive action. We know this isn't Valoria's doing." Reyes paused. "Officially, unofficially, there are factions calling for preemptive strikes. Fear makes people stupid."
"Yes," Aravel agreed. "It does." She turned to the room. "New orders. No retaliation against human colonies. Instead, we investigate. Find these false flag attackers. And when we do—" Her smile was sharp as a blade.
"We show them what Valorian justice actually looks like."
"The Council will resist," Karras warned.
Let them. I'm invoking emergency powers. As ranking royal in this sector, military command is mine. She looked at Jack. I need you to do something.
Anything?
Be visible. Be human. Show everyone that we haven't changed. That this attack hasn't driven us apart. She touched his face. Can you do that even with the weight of 40,000 ghosts?
Jack thought of colony ship Horizon, of his family among the stars, of how easy it would be to let hate consume everything. They're not my ghosts to carry. They're victims of whoever wants us apart. So yeah, I can do that. My impossible human, she murmured. Then, louder. Status reports every hour. I want investigation teams at those colonies within the day. And someone find out how they got our weapon signatures.
The room burst into activity. Jack found himself swept along as Aravel commanded the response. She was magnificent and terrifying, switching between languages, coordinating with species he couldn't identify, preventing a war through sheer force of will. She's something, isn't she? Admiral Reyes appeared beside him. Never seen anyone handle a crisis quite like that.
Is it working?
For now. The Council's screaming. But they can't override emergency powers for another 72 hours. If we can find the real attackers by then.
And if we can't?
Reyes's expression was grim. Then, your love story might be the shortest in galactic history.
Jack watched Aravel work, saw the weight settling on her shoulders with every decision. 40,000 dead. A number so large it became abstract. But she felt each one. He could tell. Just as he still felt the 800 from Horizon. Admiral, he said suddenly, I need access to the colony reports. All of them.
Why? Because I've spent 2 years cleaning up messes. I know what carelessness looks like versus intention. He met her eyes. Someone staged this. There'll be patterns. Things that don't fit. Let me look. Reyes studied him. You're not trained for this. No, but I'm really good at noticing things other people miss. It's what makes a good janitor. After a long moment, she nodded. I'll get you access. Find something. Mr. Mercer. Find it fast. As Jack headed for a terminal, his comm buzzed. A message from an unknown sender, encrypted with protocols he didn't recognize. He almost deleted it, then noticed something. The encryption signature was similar to the one Aravel had used for their secret meetings. He opened it. The mop remembers what the Crown forgets. Lower maintenance. Section 7. 1 hour. Come alone. History. Jack stared at the message. A trap. Probably. But that line about the mop. He looked across the command center at Aravel, coordinating the response that might save 2 civilizations. She caught his eye and smiled. Just for a moment. A reminder that beneath the princess was the woman who'd laughed at his jokes. Whatever was waiting in Section 7, whatever game was being played, Jack would face it. He'd made a promise to a dying general. He'd chosen to live instead of just exist. And sometimes, the janitor was the only one who could see where the real mess was hiding. Section 7 was old, older than the rest of the station, part of the original human construction before the Alliance expanded it into the diplomatic hub it became. Jack knew these corridors well. They required special attention, outdated systems that responded better to manual maintenance than modern automation. He found the designated maintenance room easily enough. The door was already open, revealing a figure hunched over something on a workbench. Not Valorian, too short, wrong body structure, human, elderly, wearing the faded uniform of a maintenance supervisor from decades past. You came, the figure said without turning. Wasn't sure you would. Young people don't always listen to history. Who are you? The man turned, revealing a face weathered by time and radiation exposure. His eyes, though, were sharp as any blade. Name's Harrison, Chief Harrison. If we're being formal, I supervised this station's construction 43 years ago, and I knew your grandfather. Jack's hand tightened on his mop. My grandfather died before I was born. Thomas Mercer, engineer, philosopher, and the stubbornest human I ever met. Harrison smiled. You have his eyes. His way of standing, too. Like you're ready to clean up whatever mess the universe throws at you. How did you know about you, boy? I've been watching since you arrived. Waiting. When you started mopping floors. I thought maybe. When you caught the princess's eye. I knew. He gestured to the workbench. Come see. Jack approached cautiously. On the bench lay documents. Actual paper. Not digital displays. Old photographs. Schematics. And at the center, a mop. Not just any mop. The same design as his, but older. More worn. Recognize it? Harrison asked. That's impossible. This is just standard maintenance equipment. Standard now. But 43 years ago. This design was revolutionary. Your grandfather created it. Harrison picked up the mop almost reverently. The Mercer Molecular Maintenance System. First human tool to successfully interface with alien technology. Made us indispensable to station operations. Jack stared at the familiar tool with new eyes. He invented this. More than invented. He fought for it. Harrison pulled out a photograph. Humans and various aliens standing together, all holding mops. The custodial revolution, we called it. Sounds silly now, but back then humans were barely tolerated. Considered too primitive for anything but basic labor. Your grandfather changed that. I never knew. Because they didn't want you to know. Harrison's expression darkened. After the Horizon incident, certain parties worked hard to bury your family's contributions. Easier to justify killing colonists if they're nobodies. Harder if they're descendants of the man who helped build Alliance cooperation. Jack picked up a schematic, recognizing the molecular frequency patterns he used every day. Why tell me now? Because someone's playing an old game with new pieces. Harrison moved to a wall panel, pressing a sequence of buttons. A hidden compartment opened. Your grandfather didn't just design cleaning equipment. He was preparing for something. Said humans needed to be ready for when the Alliance turned on us. Inside the compartment were data cores. Old style, but carefully preserved. And something else. A mop handle, but different. Heavier. Modified. Is that weaponized? Yes. Your grandfather was peaceful, but not naive. Every Mercer-designed mop can be converted. The molecular manipulation field that cleans can also disrupt. You used it instinctively during the assassination attempt, didn't you? Jack remembered frantically adjusting frequencies to create a barrier against energy weapons. I thought I was just improvising. Genetic memory, maybe. Or just Mercer's stubbornness. Harrison handed him the modified handle. Those colony attacks, I've been analyzing the energy signatures. They're not Valorian weapons. They're human tech, modified with stolen Valorian frequencies. What but who would... Think, boy. Who benefits from war between humans and Valorians, who's been waiting 40 years for revenge? Jack's mind raced. The old human military factions. The ones who never accepted the peace. Got it in one. Admiral Conway's old fleet. They went rogue after the treaties. Disappeared into uncharted space. But they've been preparing, building, waiting for the right moment. Harrison pulled up a display. 40,000 dead Valorians. Blamed on bloodline purists. The Council ready to retaliate against human colonies. Perfect setup for justified genocide. We have to tell Aravel. Tell the Alliance. With what proof? 40-year-old speculation from a maintenance supervisor. Harrison shook his head. They need evidence. Lucky for you, I know where to find it. He pulled out a maintenance schedule, pointing to a section deep in the station's core. Old communication array. Officially decommissioned. Unofficially. It's been sending burst transmissions to empty space. I noticed during routine inspections. Kept quiet while I investigated. Someone on the station is coordinating with Conway's people.
Who?
Don't know, but those transmissions spike every time there's a diplomatic incident. Like, say, a princess choosing a human janitor. Harrison met his eyes. Your grandfather would have investigated himself, but I'm too old for crawling through maintenance shafts. You, on the other hand. Jack hefted the modified mop handle, feeling its weight. You're asking me to spy on potentially treasonous military personnel with a cleaning tool? I'm asking you to be what Mercers have always been. The ones who clean up messes others pretend don't exist. Harrison smiled grimly. Plus, you've got something your grandfather didn't. A princess who commands fleets. Get her the evidence, and maybe we prevent a war. Jack thought about Aravel in the command center, holding civilizations together through sheer will. About 40,000 dead Valorians and the human colonies that would burn in retaliation if they failed. Show me the arrays, he said. The next hour was a crash course in 40-year-old espionage. Harrison showed him the maintenance routes, the security blind spots, the technical specifications he'd need to extract data, all while sharing stories of Thomas Mercer, the janitor who'd revolutionized human-alien cooperation one clean floor at a time. He'd be proud, Harrison said as Jack prepared to leave. Standing up for what's right, even if it costs everything. That's the Mercer way.
Did he know, Jack asked suddenly, about the weapons capability, about Conway's faction?
Harrison's expression grew distant. Your grandfather believed in preparation without paranoia. He wanted humans ready for betrayal, but working for cooperation. It's why he sent your family on the horizon. Thought the colonies would be safer than the core worlds if things went bad. He was wrong. No, he was sabotaged. The Horizon's route was classified. Only someone high in human command could have leaked it to the Valorians. Harrison gripped Jack's shoulder. Find that array. Get that data. And maybe we finally learn who sold out your family. Jack left Section 7 with his mind reeling, and his mop feeling heavier than ever. The station corridors looked different now. Not just a workplace, but a battleground his grandfather had helped shape. Every human he passed could be Conway's agent. Every system could be compromised. He made it back to Strategic Command to find organized chaos. Aravel stood at the center, coordinating 3 different response fleets, while arguing with council members via hologram. She looked up as he entered, and something in his expression made her excuse herself. What is it? She asked, pulling him aside.
I need to tell you something. Privately. Very privately.
She led him to a secured conference room, activating privacy shields that made Jack's teeth itch. Talk. So he did. Harrison, his grandfather, the weaponized mops, Conway's faction, the communication array. He watched her expression shift from surprise to calculation to cold fury. Rogue human military forces masquerading as Valorian purists, she said when he finished. Using our own tragedy to restart a war. Elegant. Horrible. Can you delay the council? Give me time to get evidence? How long do you need? Jack thought about the maintenance routes, the security patterns. 6 hours. Maybe 8. I can give you 4. She pulled up tactical displays. After that, emergency powers expire and the council takes control. They're already selecting targets for retaliation. 4 hours to prevent a war? No pressure. She touched his face. You don't have to do this. We could send security forces. Who might include Conway's agents? No. It has to be someone they won't expect. Someone invisible. He managed a smile. Good thing I've had practice. Jack, she paused, struggling with words. The biobonding. If something happens to you, I'll feel it. Valorian neurology doesn't handle that well. Then I'll have to not let anything happen. He kissed her forehead. Keep them talking. I'll get your evidence. Take Maria, she said. You'll need backup. Already planning on it. He headed for the door, then stopped. Hey, when this is over, we're taking a real vacation. Somewhere with no politics. No assassination attempts. And definitely no ancient conspiracies. Deal. Though knowing our luck, we'll accidentally start a revolution there too. Probably, but at least the food might be better. He left her managing the fate of civilizations and went to find Maria. She was in the human quarters, cleaning her service weapon with military precision. "Let me guess," she said without looking up. "You're about to do something stupidly dangerous and need backup."
You know me so well.
Unfortunately, she holstered the weapon. "What's the suicide mission this time?" Jack explained quickly. Maria's expression grew increasingly grim as he spoke. "Conway. Should have known those bastards wouldn't stay gone." She stood, checking her gear. 4 hours to crawl through maintenance shafts and steal data from potentially armed conspirators. Sounds like a party. They suited up in maintenance coveralls. Jack with his modified mop. Maria with tools that could pass for repair equipment but served deadlier purposes. Just 2 janitors doing routine inspections. Nothing suspicious. The route Harrison had mapped took them through the station's bones, past power conduits that hummed with alien energy, through passages so old they predated artificial gravity. Jack found himself thinking about his grandfather crawling through these same tunnels, laying the groundwork for human integration. "Movement," Maria whispered. They froze. Footsteps echoed from ahead, definitely human, moving with military precision. Jack adjusted his mop's frequency to scanning mode, a function he hadn't known existed until Harrison showed him. 2 contacts, armed, guarding something they shouldn't be. Maria raised an eyebrow. Jack nodded. They'd found it. The next part required timing. Jack created a distraction, his mop's field generating a harmonic resonance that would register as a minor system malfunction. The guards moved to investigate, giving Maria an opening. She struck with professional efficiency, dropping both before they could raise an alarm. "Ex-military," she confirmed, checking insignia. "Conway's unit markings. Thought they'd be smarter than keeping those." "Arrogance. They've been planning this for 40 years. Jack approached the hidden array. It looked innocuous, just outdated communication equipment. But when he applied his grandfather's frequency patterns, hidden panels opened. Got it. The data core was exactly where Harrison had said. Jack pulled it, then paused. On impulse, he connected his personal scanner, downloading everything he could. Names, dates, communication logs. "Jack," Maria said urgently. "Company." More footsteps. Lots of them. They'd triggered some silent alarm. "Can you hold them?" "How many?" Jack checked his scanner. 8, maybe 10. "In this space, 3 minutes, max." "That'll do." He worked frantically, the modified mop serving as both interface and weapon. Data flowed, revealing 40 years of conspiracy. Conway's location, agent names, and there, the communication that had doomed the horizon. Sent by... "No," Jack breathed. "Admiral Reyes, current head of Human Fleet Command." She'd been a junior officer then, feeding information to Conway's faction. She'd sent 800 colonists to their deaths to provoke the war that didn't quite happen. And now she was in strategic command, coordinating humanity's response. "Jack, we need to go." The first hostiles rounded the corner. Maria's weapon spoke in controlled bursts, but more were coming, too many. Jack grabbed the data core and made a decision his grandfather would have been proud of. He cranked his mop's molecular field to maximum and slammed it into the array's power core. "What are you—" "Run." The explosion wasn't huge. The mop's field contained it, converted it. But the electromagnetic pulse that resulted shut down every system in a 100-meter radius. Lights failed, gravity fluctuated, and every electronic weapon suddenly became dead weight. In the darkness, Jack and Maria ran, through passages now filled with floating debris, past conspirators made clumsy by failing gravity. They had minutes before backup power activated, before questions were asked. They made it to populated areas just as systems came back online. 2 maintenance workers, dirty and exhausted from repairing a sudden malfunction. Nothing suspicious at all. "Command center," Jack gasped. "Now." They arrived to find chaos of a different sort. The council had accelerated their timeline, demanding immediate retaliation. Aravel stood like a rock in the storm, but Jack could see her running out of options. And there was Admiral Reyes, calmly directing human forces, preparing for a war she'd helped engineer. Jack caught Aravel's eye, nodded. She immediately called for tactical analysis, clearing the room of all but essential personnel, which, somehow, included him and Maria. "Report," Aravel commanded once privacy shields were active. Jack handed her the data core. "Conway's faction. They've been planning this for decades. The colony attacks, the weapon signatures, all of it. And..." He looked at Reyes. "They had inside help." Reyes didn't flinch. "That's a serious accusation, Mr. Mercer." "It's not an accusation." Jack displayed the communication logs. "It's history. You sent the Horizon to its death. 800 civilians, including my family, all to restart a war you lost." The room went very still. Aravel's expression could have frozen suns. Maria's hand moved to her weapon. "Ancient history," Reyes said calmly. "Whatever you think you found—" "What I found," Jack interrupted, "is 40 years of treason. Conway's still out there, still building his fleet, and you're still feeding him information. Like, say, which colonies were vulnerable, where the defensive gaps were." "You can't prove—" "Actually, I can—" Jack pulled up the recent communications. "You've been careful, but not careful enough. Every time Conway's people needed intel, you accessed specific systems, left traces, digital DNA." Aravel moved, faster than human eyes could track. When Reyes reached for her weapon, the princess was already there, Valorian strength making the contest brief. 40,000 of my people," Aravel said quietly. "Dead because you couldn't accept peace." "Peace." Reyes laughed bitterly. "You call subjugation peace, humans as second-class citizens, grateful for scraps from alien tables." "My grandfather didn't think so," Jack said. "He worked for integration, for cooperation." "Your grandfather was a fool, and look where it got his family." The rage that Jack had carried for 2 years finally found its target. But instead of explosion, he found ice, cold, clear purpose. "My grandfather built bridges. You burned them. My family died believing in a better future. You killed them for a past that's already gone." He looked at Aravel. "Can you hold her quietly?" "Already done. Royal Guard, actual Royal Guard, are en route." Aravel studied the data. "This is enough, more than enough. Conway's location, agent lists, evidence of the false flag attacks. We can prevent the war." "If the council believes it." "They will." Her smile was sharp. "Because I'll present it, with you beside me. The human who uncovered human treachery to save Valorian lives." Rather poetic. "What about the bio-bonding?" Maria asked. "They'll use that against you." "Let them. I'll use it right back." Aravel straightened. "Time to show the council what partnership actually looks like." The next hour was controlled chaos. Reyes's quiet arrest, evidence dissemination, emergency sessions with increasingly shocked council members. And through it all, Jack stood beside Aravel, the janitor who'd prevented a war with a mop. When the council finally voted, unanimously, to pursue Conway's faction instead of human colonies, Jack felt something lift from his shoulders. Not peace. Not yet. But possibility. "You did it," Maria said afterward. "You actually did it." "We did it," Jack corrected. "All of us. Even Theros, in his way." Speaking of which, Aravel approached, exhaustion clear in every line. "The council has agreed to something else. A new initiative. Human-Valorian cooperation. based on merit rather than genetics. Integration through action, not just treaty. Sounds progressive. It needs a symbol, someone to head it, someone who understands both worlds. She smiled. Interested in a promotion. Mr. Mercer. Jack looked at his mop, weapon, tool, legacy. Do I still get to clean floors? If you want, though you might have less time for it. Then yes, on one condition. Which is that vacation we talked about. Somewhere boring. Amazingly, wonderfully boring. She laughed, that sound that had started everything. Deal. Though knowing us, we'll accidentally start a revolution. Yeah, I'm counting on it. 3 days later, the false flag attacks were publicly exposed. Conway's faction, faced with united human Valorian forces, retreated deeper into uncharted space. Not defeated, but deflated. Their 40-year plan undone by a janitor with a mop and a princess who chose love over logic. The biobonding became public knowledge. Instead of scandal, it sparked curiosity. If humans and Valorians could bond at such a fundamental level, what else was possible? Research initiatives bloomed. Exchange programs flourished. And at the center of it all, Jack Mercer cleaned floors in the royal quarters while wearing the ceremonial crown of the Integration Council. Usually crooked, always slightly dusty. You know you don't have to actually mop anymore, Aravel said one evening, finding him in their quarters, methodically cleaning already spotless floors. I know. He paused in his work. But it helps me think. Grandfather was right. There's something meditative about making things clean. She sat beside him on the floor, elegant even in casual clothes. What are you thinking about? Tomorrow, the memorial service for the colonies, for Theros. How we honor the dead while building for the living. Heavy thoughts for floor cleaning. The best thoughts usually are. He set the mop aside. Also, thinking about that vacation. Found a place. Small colony. Middle of nowhere. No strategic value. No political significance. Just beaches and bad food and absolutely nothing important happening. Sounds perfect. When do we leave? Day after the memorial. Maria's already threatening to come with us. Says someone needs to keep us from accidentally conquering it. Aravel laughed. She's probably right. Our track record isn't great. No, Jack agreed. But it's ours. They sat together. Princess and janitor, watching stars through their window. Somewhere out there, Conway's faction nursed their hatred. Somewhere. The ghosts of Horizon and 40,000 Valorians drifted in the void. But here, in this moment, two people who'd found each other across impossible odds were planning a vacation. The mop leaned against the wall, ready for use. No longer just a tool, but a reminder that the smallest things could change the universe, that love could bloom in the most unlikely places, that sometimes the best way to save civilizations was to offer someone a normal Tuesday night. Hey, Jack said suddenly. Want to watch a terrible movie? Always, Aravel replied. But first, show me that floor cleaning technique again. I think I'm getting the hang of it. And so, in the royal quarters of the Valorian embassy, the princess who'd refused 1,000 suitors learned the ancient human art of mopping from the janitor who'd won her heart. The galaxy spun on, conspiracies plotted, and peace held by threads. But in that room, for that moment, everything was exactly as it should be. Wonderfully, perfectly, impossibly normal.